The History of Management with a focus on recent trends. Unit 1 from Chapter 2, Lesson 1, Part 6.
One of the most influential trends in recent management theory has been systems thinking. And this involves the ability to see the distinct elements of a situation as well as the complexities and the changing interaction among those elements. I'll quickly go through the definitions and then I'll give you an example. A system is a set of interrelated parts, but they function as a whole to work towards a common purpose. Systems are often made up of subsystems, which are parts of the system that are all interconnected. The purpose of a system is also to deliver synergy, meaning that the whole or the sum of the whole is greater than its parts. So for managers, it's very important to understand subsystem interdependence and synergy. The easiest example of a system that I can give you is the human body. You have many interrelated parts, your heart, your lungs, your liver, your kidneys, that have to function cohesively in order for your body to be synergistically healthy. The lungs, for example, are a subsystem, as is the heart, but they are all interconnected and interdependent. If one of these parts is unhealthy or doesn't function well, it affects the health of the entire system. And so we want to take this understanding to the business context. Let's look at a business example of systems thinking. The company can decide that they want to advertise a product. Once they spend that advertising money, it can increase sales, and that should increase profits. That's the nice part to think about. But if we take a systems thinking view, then we should also realize that because we have increased sales, we might be stocking out. So we need to increase the amount of stock we have, and that can have knock-on effects. There might need to be a bigger warehouse. It could delay some of our business plans. We might need additional staff to realize these goals. And of course, it will increase the cost of doing business, which will all have to be taken out of the increased profit. Now that doesn't mean that the company shouldn't increase their advertising budget and shouldn't drive greater sales. It just means that if they advertise and don't consider stockouts, then they're not taking the systems view of the business into account, and there might be unintended effects. What you are seeing here is circles of causality that intersect to show us how the parts of a system are related to each other. Another recent trend is the contingency view. Originally, the classical perspective of management theory advocated a universalist view of the organization. Essentially, what works for the goose will work for the gander. If it works in one situation, it'll always work in any other situation. But we intuitively know that this can't be true, and so the competing view in business education has been that there should be a case view. Certain things will work in certain situations. Now, in reality, we need to combine these views. So managers must be able to identify the key contingencies that will help them understand a specific situation. One thing that could determine what works could be the structure of an organization. A very flexible structure that works for a technology company like Google won't necessarily work for a bank like Standard Bank. It could also be other variables that relate to the industry. So management, by wandering around, could be great in a manufacturing organization so that we can check on all the different parts that are coming together, but won't work equally well in a school where teachers might feel that they're being observed without permission. Here you can see a visual representation of the contingency view. There's our case view, that every situation is unique, and our universalist view, that there is always one best way. And when we combine these ideas, we end up with a contingency view. So, yes, situations might be unique, but we also understand that there are normally phenomena that exist in logical patterns. And managers should be able to identify, devise, and apply similar responses when they are faced with common types of problems. Another influential recent management trend is total quality management. What's interesting is that these ideas originated in the United States, but W. Edwards Deming, who's known as the father of the quality movement, was initially ignored in his home country. These ideas were, however, really embraced in Japan, and they used the principles that he advocated to rebuild their industries and to become a competing world power. A really good example of the influence of the total quality management movement that became popular in the 80s and 90s in revamping Japanese industry is the success of Toyota, which was really built on embracing these principles in how they manufactured their vehicles. It essentially meant that they focused on integrating high quality values in every activity. And I don't know if you recall the Toyota slogan, "Everything keeps going right." It is a statement of the quality that you can expect from their vehicles. Here you can see the elements of a total quality management approach. Firstly, the company does need to start with employee involvement. Every employee needs to take responsibility for their part in the process, and quality needs to be inculcated in every single activity that the organization undertakes. The objective of this quality is not in and of itself, but it is to focus on the customer. What will add value to them? If we reduce the breakdown time and our products last longer, how will that benefit our customers? And so that becomes the focus of this process. Many companies that engage in total quality management are using benchmarking to see if they're moving in the right direction. And you can see this in the auto industry. It didn't take long for Ford and General Motors in the United States to notice that this improved quality was translating to better sales for Toyota. They sat up, paid attention, and went on visits to see how the factories in Japan operated, to try and bring back those ideas as a benchmark into how their factories operated around the world. Another idea that's important in total quality management is that we can't rest on our laurels. We have to continuously improve. That means that we are always looking at every part of the process to see what can be improved. Many of the management ideas that are in place today can trace their roots to historical perspectives and sometimes even a combination of these perspectives. But this is not a stagnant field, and new ideas continue to emerge to meet the changing needs in difficult times. Many managers have their finger on the pulse of these trends and are always willing or looking to try something new that may work for their organization. It becomes part of their flexibility and openness to change. But what we do see is that the shelf life of trends is getting shorter and shorter. The University of Louisiana did a study and noticed that between 1950 and 1970, it took about a decade for an idea to gain popularity and be implemented. But at the moment, that entire cycle happens in 3 years or less. So as technology changes, the pace of trends and awareness of these things is also increasing dramatically. Some of the most recent trends in management have been largely enabled by technology. So as you're probably aware, social media is only increasing in popularity and use, and companies are looking at ways to use social media sites like Facebook and Twitter to communicate not just with their customers but with other stakeholders like their suppliers or employees. To extract value from this is actually quite a new idea, and many companies are still finding their feet. An idea that's more established and which more companies can recognize the value of is CRM, or Customer Relationship Management. This technology is something that enables the company to build relationship with their customers. If you think, for example, about a loyalty card that you might have with a store, they have your details, they can track your spending patterns and purchases, how frequently you are there, and then they can start to recommend or suggest what you should purchase and give you discounts on the things that you use most. So this is really something that translates to the bottom line for companies. Another trend is outsourcing, so contracting functions or activities that the company is not expert at to other organizations, and this is often done to cut costs. The advice with regards to outsourcing is really that the organization should not outsource activities that are strategically significant to their survival, because outsourcing it means someone else will become the expert. But if it is not key to their survival and just a part of the functions of doing business, then they might be able to save some money outsourcing that. Another important trend is SCM, or Supply Chain Management. And this is really about managing the supply and purchasing relationships to get the goods to the customer.
Technology have also brought about new tools that managers can use. You might be familiar with terms such as the virtual organization, and as we've discussed in our World Through Management history, the idea of empowerment is certainly enabled by technology. Ideas such as customer relationship management and a decentralized organization are definitely boosted by the possibility of technology to make their dreams and visions a reality. Terms that might not seem to fit into this category, such as re-engineering, are often about restructuring and possibly retrenchments. But it's also true that in light of virtual organizational structures, management tools can certainly make the changes and improvements to business processes a reality. Social media is not only helpful in marketing companies, but has also opened up some business categories and new business models. If we think about the opportunities that Facebook and Twitter and company forums have created, and indeed the entirely app-enabled business models of Uber and Airbnb, where based on previous users' reviews, customers will decide where to book their next holiday or whether to trust a driver that's just arrived when they asked for a lift. These programs have certainly revolutionized what's possible in the business world with these new business models. It's also possible to gain a new and different insight into the types of candidates that you might want to hire. A good bit of advice in the modern workplace is to make sure that everything you post on your own social media accounts are what you would want a future employer to see about you. Because once it's on the internet, of course, it's not possible to ever truly erase it. The opportunity that technology provides in terms of managing relationships with customers, I think are only beginning to be tapped. The clear benefits are keeping in touch with customers, advising them of upcoming sales or new product launches, but it certainly goes much deeper than that. Customer preferences can come into focus. Think about something like a Pick and Pay Smart Shopper card or some of the other loyalty programs that retailers might have. Every time you make a purchase, they know where you've made the purchase and what you've bought, and this access to very detailed, granular customer data can help them to serve their customers better, make sure they've managed the forecast for what's going to sell at which stores more accurately. It can help them improve their product design and marketing, and it can definitely help them become more responsive and flexible in meeting their customers' needs. These kinds of programs are certainly going to be mined for all they're worth in the future. For all the many benefits of modern management and certainly the technology that enables it, we would be remiss not to dive in a little deeper into supply chain management, which is essentially about managing the sequence of suppliers and purchasers through the company's value chain. This in fact covers all stages of the processes that a company engages in order to add value. This can be a very complex network with multiple businesses and many different individuals that are connected through the flow of products and raw materials that they provide, how they transform those into value-adding services and products, and certainly how they get them to customers at the right time and for the right price. The technology that is available today has made it possible to track and gain deep insights into what the company is doing, if there are any potential stockouts looming, what customer preferences are with regards to what's being ordered. And this ability to communicate with suppliers and the people that will eventually purchase the products has really enabled companies to fine-tune and tailor their market offering.
Here you can see a visual representation of a supply chain for a retail organization. Suppliers of raw materials deliver these goods to manufacturers, who then add value by making a finished product. They then send this to a variety of distributors, probably in different locations, that are responsible for ensuring that retailers who are selling the products directly to consumers have the right amount of goods at the right time to satisfy customer demand. What's really interesting about supply chain management is that there is a lot of waste that can occur, and it's often in these interchanges between suppliers, manufacturers, distributors, and retailers that a lot of the cost of manufacturing a product is developed. And so if the company can streamline their supply chain and improve the quality of information and the clarity of how much they need to order and deliver when, it can really add value for customers and decrease costs for the company.